Welcome to New Domains, the podcast where we explore how AI is set to transform our world and the way we interact with it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to New Domains. Welcome back. I'm your host, Zachary, and today we're talking about phishing. No, not the fun kind in the boat, but the evil, malicious kind where some mean person steals your sensitive information or blackmails you for money or more sensitive information. No, this is not a corporate mandated training session, but I did find the topic interesting and wanted to share. So if you will join me, I think we'll have a good time and we'll learn some new information about phishing. By the way, phishing is phishing. So today we're going to talk about what is phishing, first of all, and what kind of types of phishing are there, why it's getting worse, and then at the end we'll cover just a few things that you can do to help you prevent falling victim to phishing attacks. So having said all that, let's get right down to it. What is phishing? Phishing is any kind of communication. It could be a text, an email, a phone call that poses as a legitimate organization and usually has something embedded in that communication that is malicious. This usually takes the form of a threat or a request for information. For example, you've probably seen emails in your inbox from like PayPal or eBay, something like that, saying, "This account will close, contact the IRS now, a balance is due." And basically, the email or the text or whatever is trying to obtain sensitive information from you, and they're trying to get you to click that link or go to that website, something like that. From there, the phishing attack can either have you manually insert your personal information, or it can embed you with a virus, supply you with a virus that collects it, installs it in your browser and collects it for you, something like that. These messages typically have a false sense of urgency to bypass the rational parts of our brain that think, wait, I haven't used PayPal in 13 years. Why would they be contacting me now? So that is the basic overall of what phishing is. Now, what different kinds of phishing are there? In my research, I found 7 different types of phishing scams that we're going to go into today. And we're also, of course, going to talk about how AI is assisting scammers in developing more complex phishing scams. So the number one phishing scam is simple mass market emails. These will pose as Amazon or PayPal saying your password has been compromised, or Home Depot saying click here to claim your rewards. You probably have all seen these. Your junk filter does a pretty good job of catching these for your inbox, and they have crazy email addresses. It's really not the typical Amazon, Home Depot email. It's a bunch of alphanumeric characters, and they're just hoping you don't look too closely. And also what's associated with these is bad language, bad grammar. So this is the most basic type of phishing attack. The next kind of phishing attack is called spear phishing. It's more targeted, it's more direct, it's with a spear. And spear phishing is when the scammers go after a specific target. These are very highly targeted cyber attacks that are used to install malware or steal sensitive information. It's different from phishing due to the highly targeted nature of the attack. It's the same tactic, but because it's personalized, it's so much more effective. By the way, my information for the different types of phishing attacks comes from a csonline.com article called 8 Types of Phishing Attacks and How to Identify Them. According to barracuda.com, they have their 2023 Spear Phishing Trends Report, which sounds like riveting reading. Spear phishing emails make up less than 0.1% of all emails sent, but they're responsible for about 66% of all breaches, which is hugely effective. So these ones are really tricky to detect and can be devastating in their impact. Some examples of this, just so you can see how devastating they actually can be. In LA Superior Court, A man from Texas used a fake Dropbox email to steal account credentials for the LA Superior Court system. The hacker was then able to access the LA court's servers and send many more phishing emails using the accounts he had hacked. So he had an initial entry into their system, was then able to collect more and more information to legitimize further attacks, and thus compounded down on the cyber attack. The Omaha's commodity theft is another example. An executive of a commodities trader in Omaha, Nebraska, ended up transferring $17.2 million to a phisher, thinking he was sending it to a Chinese bank. The attacker researched the company's situation at the time, used that info to make the attack more believable. And lastly, as an example, the Ubiquity Networks attack. This happened where attackers pretended to be an employee of the tech company Ubiquity Networks and then convinced Ubiquity to wire $46.7 million overseas. So these attacks are something you really need to look out for, and as we can see, actually have the potential to not just impact you and get your social security number or something like that, but actually impact you and your business and the employees that are working with you. The next type of phishing attack is called whaling. This is called going after the big one. Basically, it is a targeted attack that goes after the CEO or other high member level executives of a company. And the goal is then to steal employee information, business accounts, or just money outright. If they do get a hold of more information, then as is common, they can use that information to then go after multiple other people within the organization. There is also the business email compromise, and this is where scammers will pretend to be the CEO, so it's almost like the opposite of whaling. And this one actually happened to me. I thankfully didn't fall for it, but somebody posed as the CEO of my company and sent me a text saying, hey, can you do something urgently for me? Click this link and fill in blah, blah, blah information, something like that. And so basically they'll pose as executives trying to get employees to hand over financial information or other employee details or cash. And I basically sent a mail to my CEO through our Outlook and said, hey, are you actually trying to contact me? I CC'd HR, and he said, no, thank you for letting us know. And then they were able to quickly turn around and send a warning email to the rest of the company to try to prevent other people from having this happen. The next type is called clone phishing, and this is basically where they say copies are just as effective. What happens here is attackers will create a nearly identical replica of a legitimate message to try to trick victims into thinking it's real. The email is sent from an address that resembles a legitimate sender, and the body of the message looks just like a previous message, and it's almost as if somebody double sent a mail, something like that. But the only difference is that the attachment or the link supplied in the message has been swapped out with the malicious one. That again can infect your computer or asks you to hand over or submit sensitive information. The next type of attack is called phishing with a V, and this is actually the reason why I was interested in doing this topic in the first place, and it's because attackers will use the phone, social engineering in the phone, to try to elicit money or information out of the victims. So it doesn't necessarily need to be AI, and in a moment I'm going to play a bit of audio that I pulled from YouTube that shows a really good example of how a phishing attack can be so successful. It's using social engineering to, again, bypass the rational part of your brain to try to get you to do something like pay money, or maybe they're even just trying to get access to an account of yours. And it's really dangerous and it's really hard to detect. Where AI comes into play is that because we can now do AI voice generation, if there is audio of anybody that exists in the world and people are able to use that AI and train a voice model to sound like you, you can have scammers actually use AI to sound like a family member. And there's actually a page on the FTC's website about this that is warning about this. And they say, basically, you get a call, there's a panicked voice on the line, it's your grandson. He says he's in deep trouble. He's wrecked his car and landed in jail. But you can help by sending him money. You take a deep breath and think. You've heard about grandparent scams, but dang, this sounds just like him. How can it be a scam? Well, voice cloning, that's how. So the pages, the scammers use AI to enhance their family emergency schemes. and that is on the consumer.ftc.gov page. And if you actually have any information about scams like this, you can report any kind of fraud to reportfraud.ftc.gov. The other thing that the FTC recommends is to, if you ever do get a call like that, to actually try to call somebody on their phone number. So people will try to say, if you hang up, this is it, you're not going to be able to do whatever. Try to call the person that is supposedly in trouble. That way you can get direct contact with them, or have somebody else do it while they're on the phone, and that will help bypass any of those things. And of course, never send any money in iTunes gift cards or anything like that. Like, that's for sure not legit. The IRS will never want any of those things. The other thing that I think would be useful is to have a catchphrase with your family, the closest people to you. That way, in case somebody is in trouble, supposedly, you can say, what color was the sky on Wednesday? And the answer has to be something very specific, like grizzly bear. And of course it doesn't relate, but that's the point, is that it would have to be something that is super secret and secure. So now let me just play the quick audio. It's about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes of a phishing attack that's done without the use of AI technology. This is just a woman on the phone. The person that she's quote unquote attacking is sitting at the table with her. So it's like a segment. And I'll have the link to the video in the description. But just imagine how successful this type of attack could be with the use of AI assisted technology, with the use of AI voice cloning. This is done all natural, but imagine if it was done with cloning.
Phishing is voice solicitation, and basically what you do is you use the phone to extract information or data points that can be used in a later attack.
Let's do it. Who are you going to call?
Maybe I'll call your cell phone provider and see if I can get them to give me your email address.
I bet they're good. I bet they have my back. But yeah, go for it.
I'm going to spoof from your number, so it's going to look like it's calling from you.
Okay.
Hi, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me okay? My baby, I'm sorry. my husband's like, we're about to apply for a loan and we just had a baby, and he's like, get this done by today. So I'm so sorry. I can't call you back. I'm trying to log into our account for usage information, and I can't remember what email address we used to log the account. The baby's crying, and can you help me? Awesome.
In just 30 seconds,
at gmail.com,
Jessica gets access to my personal email address.
Now, if I needed to add our older daughter on our account so she could call in and make changes, how would I need to go about doing that? You would have to send me a secure PIN through a text message? Yeah, well, the thing is, I don't think I'll be able to receive a text message if I'm on the phone. Shh. Oh, I'm not on there either? So I thought when we got married, he added me to the account.
Jess uses my girlfriend's name and a fake social security number
5127
to set up her own personal access to my account.
Wait, I'm sorry, so there's no password on my account right now? Can I set that up?
She even gets the support person to change my password.
Thank you so much for your help today.
So she just basically blocked me out of my own account.
I'll get her fed after this. All right, thank you.
Pretty crazy, right? That video is actually 8 years old, and it is entitled, "This is How Attackers Hack You Using Simple Social Engineering." So I hope it was informative. That, to me, is a huge vulnerability. And as good as companies are, people just want to be nice and help. So for yourself and for people that you work with and companies you do business with, I think it's pertinent that we're more aware of these types of scams, and let's just do our best to try to protect ourselves. The next type is called smishing, and I really hated saying that word, but smishing is basically a SMS. It's a phishing attempt through a text message. So those are the different kinds of phishing attacks. You see the commonality is always to collect data, to get money sent over, and it's any type of digital communication, and eventually is actually happening over the phone as well. So next, let's talk about why phishing is getting worse. The way in which scammers are able to target you is now, unfortunately, only limited by their imagination. So according to a CNBC report from 2023, There was a 61% rate of phishing attack increase in the 6 months ending October 2022 compared to the previous year, which means phishing attacks are steeply coming up on the rise. And part of the reason why that is the case is because AI systems actually are making it easier to develop these phishing scams. So, according to a 2024 Harvard Business Review article entitled AI Will Increase the Quantity and Quality of Phishing Scams, large language models with AI make it possible to automate most of the phishing process, improving the quality and quantity of phishing scams and thereby increasing the success rate. So, according to a Microsoft article, how AI is changing phishing scams, scammers who hoard breached data from hacked websites can use AI technology to read that data and organize it into highly targeted spear phishing attacks. For example, a scammer knows you visit a specific hospital and can send you a mail claiming to be the hospital needing you to verify your account information to pay a bill, thereby tricking you into handing over your credit card information to the scammer. Rather than a single cybercriminal tricking another individual into handing over private details of the targeted attack, a scammer can now train AI to do it for them, so one scammer can target hundreds or thousands of people. Another interesting twist in all of this is that ChatGPT now can understand 20 different languages, so that also expands the capability of writing new phishing schemes. You no longer have to be limited to people who speak the same language as you to scam them. You can now scam them in 20 languages. How fun. There's also, of course, the phenomenon of deepfakes, and you'll have people who have trained bots to be Trump and be Biden, and they're running streams online of Trump versus Biden debates, even though they're just one computer trained to talk like the person and another computer trained to talk like the other person. But if you were to apply that same theory with, say, for example, somebody who runs a podcast, I don't know, Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan has thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of his voice out there. It's if somebody has enough data that they could train a bot to speak as that person, now you have that weaponized in the hands of scammers to target people. Very, very dangerous, very diverse in the threat that it can deliver, and the technology is only getting better. It's only going to get easier. So from another Microsoft article, they basically are saying that tech companies find themselves in a bit of an arms race to release chatbot technology to compete with and improve upon ChatGPT. And so Microsoft and others are sometimes calling for a halt on AI, but at least a adherence to responsible AI. This is a platform that or a position that Microsoft is trying to stand behind. And privacy and security companies are in a race to develop techniques to identify AI-written phishing schemes. So there's this spiral of a technology gets better, it can impersonate things, so we need to invent a technology that can identify when things are being impersonated, whether it's in voice or it's in written form. And some of these companies that are knee-deep in AI are calling for responsible release of AI, or at least like putting a pause, which I think we all know is not really going to happen. Now on to prevention. We've discussed why these attacks are getting worse. We've discussed the various modes that these attacks can come in, but how can we actually prevent ourselves from becoming victims of phishing schemes? So just as AI is being used to create more sophisticated attacks, companies are also using AI to better detect attacks. So again, according to Barracuda, this is from a Wired.com mag article, experts at Barracuda are using supervised learning to train software to detect parts of messages that are malicious versus safe. So basically what that means is Barracuda is using AI. They're teaching an AI system to look at probably hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands of phishing emails and teach it to detect what parts of the mail, what patterns of those emails are phishing, what parts of those are scammy versus authentic mails. And so this goes back to the episode we talked about last time where somebody is training the models. So you'll have people that have to identify first what elements of the mail are scammy, what elements are should we flag, and what elements are okay. That is something that is happening. And then according to the same Harvard Business Review article that I referenced above, it is possible for large language models to also detect phishing scams. Apparently, their success rate is pretty good, at least on par or maybe better than what humans can detect. In addition to detecting phishing mails, large language models provided excellent recommendations for how to respond to them. For example, during our experiment, this is the same Harvard Business Review article. During our experiment, large language models encourage users who received an attractive discount offer email to verify the offer with the company's official website, which is a great strategy to avoid phishing attacks. This suggests that large language models' capability for personalized recommendations could be used to create custom-made spam filters that detect suspicious content based on a user's routine and characteristics. So this might look like something embedded in an email application or a downloadable software that you can apply to run your emails through to say, hey, we flagged this as probably being phishing. Here's what you can do to verify. So it's like a next generation junk filter. What are some other things that you can do? Experts recommend to keep your software updated, apply updates, especially at your OS level. So that's your Windows or your Microsoft level. Also keep browsers updated. That can also help. Another good thing you can do is to minimize repeated password usage. I know that this is hard, but try not to use the same password for every single site that you visit, because if that password were to get leaked, then every other site that you use that password for is now vulnerable to having your information be accessed. I know it's annoying, but it's not nearly as annoying as actually losing your identity or losing all of your money due to some type of software leak. If possible, for some things, use multi-factor authentication. This is that system where if you log in, it pings your phone or it pings your email or something like that, that lets you know, hey, somebody's attempting to log into your account. Is this an authorized login or is this somebody else? I have it for my email. It's very useful and I recommend it. Also, educate yourself, which congratulations, you're already doing by listening to this podcast. But check email addresses. Don't just look at the content of the mail. Actually check the email address and see if the sender looks like it's a legit message. Typically if it's Amazon, they don't need to have Amazon 123 at rateredemption.com. Like it's usually amazon.com. So don't react to messages, as I mentioned above too. Phishing is oftentimes trying to bypass the logical parts of your brain that think and that rationalize to say, yeah, I haven't used my eBay in 15 years, or I haven't made any payments to, okay, one I just got recently was a toll request. Somebody was trying to pose as a toll collector, and I was like, I haven't been over any toll roads in months, so that can't possibly be true. So just slow down, think, and try to be smart. I know it's tough. It's only going to get tougher, but hopefully these companies that are in the security space, that are in AI, are able to develop systems that can help us fight these scammers. Well, I would just like to thank everybody for listening to the episode. I hope that you all found it informative and are a little bit more educated when it comes to scam emails and phishing. If you'd like to leave any feedback for the show or suggest a topic for a future episode, you can do so on Instagram at reframerspod, or you can email me at reframerspod@gmail.com. And thank you all so much for listening. I hope that you have a great, wonderful day wherever you are, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.